All right. Well, at least among his Democratic questioners, that fell on deaf ears. They're all convinced that all of these guys do, and that they're doing something that Democrats in the past are charged they always do, even though nothing has come of these investigations of price gouging, a cabal forming, better than a dozen such investigations over decades, and not a one that came to fruition or was proven. Daniel Turner is here, the Power of the Future founder and CEO, takes a good look at this whole industry. Daniel, I just felt there was a lot of blame shifting going on in Washington yesterday. We know a lot of the factors, and we know how supply and demand works. We also know how limiting where you can get oil works. So I just thought these guys were treated unfairly. But what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. And kudos to them to sit there and take it on the chin for hours and hours. And kudos to folks like me who had to sit there and watch it because it was torture. Well, quite frankly, there was an awful lot of ignorance on display. I understand not everyone's an expert in energy. It's an incredibly complicated area. But you'd like to think the folks who are making energy policy would learn a little bit. There was complete confusion between crude and refined gasoline. Right? What would you put in your car? Absolutely no differentiation between what comes out of the ground and the myriad products. The chairwoman at one point was confused about what jet fuel had to do with all this. We're talking about gas prices. Wow. Not clear that it's all a derivative of oil products.
You know, Daniel, another thing I saw, too, and I thought, wait a minute, did I just hear this correct? Where a lot of the questioners, particularly the Democrats who were critical of the oil giants, were saying, you got to drill. And I thought they almost were saying, drill, baby, drill, when I remember distinctly as the Biden administration was starting that that was the problem. They got to stop drilling, and they've got to cool it on all of this. And so they've done a complete 180 on it, and I didn't understand that.
Yeah, and this is all in the context of being an election year. And this was the House. The House is desperate to keep its majority. It probably won't, the way the polls are looking. So this was a lot of theatrics and a lot of political posturing. But you're absolutely right. For years, they hated the industry and said, we're not going to allow you to drill. Joe Biden ran on this, right? He ran on getting away with fossil fuels, phasing out fossil fuels, no new permits, no new drilling. Well, that's what he got. And now they're saying, well, how come you're not drilling? So we're going elsewhere. We're asking Venezuela, we're asking Iran, we're asking Canada to produce more oil. So there's a complete confusion as to where this stuff you put in your car comes from, where all of these refined products come from, what's driving food prices, consumer good prices, inflation. Again, just incredible ignorance on display, and it makes you worry about these are the folks making our policy decisions, Neil. And their ignorance is really disconcerting.
Yeah, it was disconcerting because at least the idea was to get to the bottom of something and try to see what can be done. And this ended up being a piñata session. Thank you very, very, very much, Daniel Turner, on this subject.